to another tour. I'm Kiva.
I'm Jake.
I'm Corinne, and this is my tiny house.
So what are some of the special features about your tiny house?
So the goal of the house was to use completely non-toxic, zero VOC materials, and if there wasn't, if that didn't exist, we used the greenest material we could find. So the walls are magnesium oxide board, which is MgO type of cement board that's totally non-toxic. Clay plaster on top. Could have just used paint, but the plaster gives a nice feel. And the insulation is cotton bat.
Okay.
There was other options, but there's Roxol, it's pretty non-toxic as well. But
yeah.
We use cotton bat.
So is there like no stain or paint or anything that's toxic in here?
So the wood is all stained with hemp oil.
Okay,
and a little bit of beeswax for where you need some, like the window sills for some waterproofing.
Right.
But hemp oil works well as a stain. We use a pigment, just an earth pigment with hemp oil on to make the floors dark. It didn't really turn out as well as I hoped, but we tried it. And the only reason why it didn't turn out super well is because we went from a super light poplar, everything's poplar wood on the inside.
Cool.
We tried to do super dark, and that just doesn't work with
Oh, really?
the natural pigments. But,
cool. No, I think it looks nice.
It's a lot of experimenting with non-toxic materials because it hasn't really been done that much in a tiny house.
Cool. So did you use non-toxic on the outside as well?
The outside is just cedar unstained, which cedar holds up fairly well.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years it's going to last, but there's no stain on it.
Yeah. What about for like sealing against water or anything? Did you do anything crazy? I just know because we had to use so we ended up having to use some really intense caulking to seal our siding and our windows.
Caulking is one thing where I couldn't find a perfect non-toxic one, but there are a couple that claim to be zero VOC, and it does off-gas pretty quickly. So after a couple of weeks, any of the basic ones should be fine. And I have a blog post where I test all the different caulks and glues.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we did have to use caulking on the outside and around the doorways.
So the layout of this tiny house is really unique. Do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I bought plans, and then I realized I wanted it totally customized. So we almost scrapped the plans. There's only maybe 2 or 3 things that are the same, and I did a lot of the design, so I redesigned it with my builder, and we wanted more of an open space. So by putting the kitchen and living room like this, it just creates a huge amount of common space where you could have people over here. And then the loft was from the original design.
Okay.
And I liked it.
Yeah, it's cool how you have like a little bit of stairs and then like a little ladder too.
Yeah, it works.
And this is like a desk and like your eating area?
Yeah, the table can go down if you had people over. But that's my little desk. So the stairs have storage, and there's storage all under the landing.
Oh, cool.
And even my little stools are where I keep my clothes.
Okay, cool.
And there was a lot more storage planned, like a big closet was planned for the back. There's actually a few feet of area at the back, and in this corner there could be a bookshelf, but I just found that I don't have enough stuff to meet that, but other people would probably want to add those elements.
Yeah, cool. And you have like a little corner kitchen here. And you designed that kitchen?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and it's just everything where I wanted it.
Cool.
It's an apartment size stove.
Okay.
So it's just a little smaller than a regular house stove.
Yeah.
Obviously it's quite a tiny fridge, but for one person, it works.
Oh, it's the fridge. Oh, I didn't even see the fridge.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Little fridge, little stove oven.
Regular size sink.
Yeah.
So there's no need to put a smaller sink when, there's definitely plenty of room for a regular sink.
Yeah, you got lots of counter space.
So a splurge for the kitchen was the Cambrai quartz countertop, which is around the same price as marble, but it's VOC free, it's non-toxic. There weren't a lot of options, Marble is an option, but they do use a sealer. Tile and with the grout is hard to seal in a non-toxic way. So other than using a stainless steel counter, this was the other really good option, and I think it looks really good. In terms of the other appliances, there's 2 vent fans, because in a tiny space you want to get rid of the moisture.
Yeah.
So one over the stove and one over the shower. And we got the heat pump for electric heat.
Nice. Yeah, it's really cozy in here.
Yeah. And that's 12,000 BTUs, which works as an air conditioner in the summer as well.
Oh, cool.
And then a heater in the winter.
So what size bed is this up here?
So there's room for a queen. So it's a decent sized loft. You can sit up at the back of it. And the window right at the level of the bed is really nice, because when you're lying down, even at night, you feel like you're outside and you can watch the stars and the birds fly right by you.
Cool. This is actually really this is also kind of a unique, the roof sloping that way.
It makes it feel really spacious. I think you probably noticed when you came in, it feels
yeah,
not at all.
Yeah, totally. So then across from the kitchen you have the bathroom?
Yeah, the bathroom is tucked in at this end, so it's sort of out of the way. And it's got a small sink, big mirror with lots of storage behind it, storage under the sink. Pretty spacious shower, you don't bump your elbows when you're in the shower. It's about 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet.
Okay.
And then it's got a Sunmar composting toilet, which I go into detail in my blog. It doesn't work all that well.
Oh, okay.
But it does allow me to be off the septic and out here where I'm, almost in the forest by myself.
Yeah. Cool. And you got a tile floor there?
Yeah, it's cement tiles.
Okay.
And then the shower is all aluminum and stainless steel.
Okay.
So that was the most non-toxic shower that can also flex a little bit.
Oh, okay.
In case it moves, when the house moves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have a post all about the shower, because it took a while to design.
Oh, really? Huh, okay, cool. So was this something that you bought?
No,
you bought
it's all-
something and inserted it, or
it's
you
all
created
custom.
it? Oh, cool. So is this heat pump electric?
Yeah, so I chose to use everything electric in the house because my sensitivity is to propane, gas, wood stove. So the fridge, the stove, and so it's somewhere between 60 and 100 amps that I'm using, which is quite a lot. What I've done is I've taken a 100 amp panel off of the main house, which has 200 amps. So I've taken half of their power, and I've got my own sub panel, and I've got my own sub meter, so I can measure how much I'm using, and then I just read my meter and I pay part of that bill. And then we've taken a few steps to lower the EMFs, just because I was so sensitive when we were building, and it's hard to know how it was hard to predict how it was going to react. So we wired it in a way that reduced EMFs. We used the house is wired with Ethernet cables so that we can turn off the Wi-Fi, and the utility closet is at the farthest end from the bed. And then what we also did was there's 2 panels, and one can go off at night.
Okay.
So you can cut down everything that's not necessary at night. So obviously you need your fridge, you need your heat, but the non-essentials can all be turned off. And it turned out I didn't really need that. As soon as I got into this cleaner environment, healthy environment, I wasn't really that sensitive, but it was kind of just a good thing to have in case.
Mm-hmm.
In the utility closet, we also I bought a 40-liter hot water tank, and that's definitely enough for a long shower. That's electric, of course. You could use propane. Most people might want to use propane, but it hasn't frozen, even though the utility closet is not conditioned. It's outside. The tank's done good in the cold, in -10, and I've got a pipe running, or not a pipe, but I've got a hose running from my outside tap, and that's where I'm getting all my water intake. And the hose is covered in a heat tape and then insulation. So that also, even though it's 100 feet outside above ground, that hasn't frozen in -10.
Oh wow.
So that's been working well. There's also just the outside component of the heat pump in the utility closet.
Okay.
And I keep my modem out there as another way to reduce EMFs.
Okay. And what do you do for your gray water here?
My gray water is just a really simple solution. Kitchen sink, bathroom sink, shower, just run into a pit.
Okay.
It's just outside, and the best thing to do is to put a filter on it, take out the grease and the hair conditioner, but I just went with the simplest option, and every 6 months I clean it out. But other than that, it's working perfectly fine.
Cool.
You may or may not want a shot of that because it's, yeah, sure. I mean, it's a bit gross, but I don't know.
Oh, cool. So, yeah. Simple. Did you like have to change any like products that you used or?
Yeah, so I use all biodegradable, but I was already using that because of my chemical sensitivities.
Okay, right.
But yeah, if you have any kind of gray water system, whether it's, you know, underground or above ground, which you shouldn't have, but you want to use all biodegradable products.
So is this on a new trailer?
So the trailer my builder bought new. It was rated at 10,000 pounds. And then what we found as we went along is that magnesium oxide board is way heavier than drywall, or even using tongue and groove wood for the inside. That we quickly got to 10,000 pounds, and we couldn't get another layer of the outside wall of magnesium oxide. We were going to do 2 sides of it, and then we were even going to use a magnesium oxide siding, which is another, 3 cement layers, and there was no way. So we could only use one layer of magnesium oxide in order to stay at the 10,000 pounds. So I would have gotten a higher rated trailer if I'd done it over. So it's a 20 by 8 foot trailer, and then they added extenders on so that we could use the full, what is that called?
Oh, like a flange?
Yeah, so that we could use sort of the wheel well area, so that we have a bigger indoor space. And I don't know the exact cost of the trailer because it was just got piled into the materials list. So we've taken the wheels off once we got settled here, and it's on jack stands, which can be leveled. So because having the level pretty, perfect is important for the heat pump.
Okay.
And you also don't want things in your kitchen kind of sliding around. So it meets the tiny house meets codes of being a travel trailer, so that it can be insured by ICBC while you're moving it.
Okay.
And it also has house insurance like fire and theft, and that's insured under a mobile home because that allows it to have earthquake insurance.
Okay.
But it's not a certified mobile home, so I can't put it in a mobile home park. It's almost impossible to get certified as a mobile home. So I have the option to be in a trailer park or on someone's land because I have my composting toilet and my gray water. So I'm free to sort of just, put it in a lot of different places.
So what was the total cost of the tiny house?
The cost was quite high. It was $75,000. You double the cost of materials when you go totally non-toxic. Each item is about double. And also what brought up the cost was that I customized. I bought the plans, but I just pretty much scrapped the plans. And once you start putting all that time into customizations, there was also a lot of time into, you can't just go to Rona and buy magnesium oxide board. You need to order that, and especially order every single item from the flashing to the silicone.
Right.
So that ended up costing a lot. And it was my builder's first time building a tiny home, so he didn't have all his sources, and that, and he had to research things and he had to learn things.
Right.
So it took a lot of labor, and materials were higher.
So have you made any changes to your lifestyle to be living in the tiny house?
Yeah, I moved from Toronto to here, so I left most of my stuff. I digitized everything. I read digital books. My paperwork is digitized, so I just have the one top stair is my paperwork, and that's it for paperwork. And you just have to sort through your stuff constantly. So you just gotta, sort through your paperwork and not, accumulate things. I'm just pretty minimalist with my lifestyle. My clothes all fit in the little stools. And you just have to be careful in the kitchen. Like, you can't start getting every food processor.
Right.
You have to pick like the key things that you need, and that's what I did, and I just don't need a lot.
Cool. And what about grocery shopping?
Well, for one person, the small fridge works well. If you had two people, I mean, there is room in here for a bigger fridge. There's definitely options for that if you need it, or even a small fridge and a small freezer next to it.
So after living in the tiny house for a year and a half, is there anything that you would do differently?
Yep, there's a few things. I would have gone with a higher R value in the insulation.
Okay.
Either Roxol or hard foam. Even though hard foam is not the greenest thing, I would have used a VOC barrier.
Okay.
And that way I would really reduce my heating bill, which is really, really high right now.
Okay.
And cooling in the summer if you want AC. The magnesium board cracked at all the seams.
Okay.
It's because it's a new application to use magnesium oxide board in tiny homes. We don't really know what we would have done differently, but maybe used plaster of Paris on the seams. That may have stopped it from cracking, I'm not sure.
Okay.
The floor is cracked from the movement. Also not totally sure what would have prevented that.
Yeah. Is this like a hardwood or is
No,
this,
we should have used a hardwood on the floors. So yeah, that's another.
Is this like a click-in type thing or glue down or?
Kind of.
Okay. It's not hardwood.
I would have used cedar on for the frame because it's so rot resistant and lasts a long time. I didn't because it's an aromatic wood and I'm sensitive to those kinds of smells, natural VOCs. But I think it would have still been worthwhile to have something that would last longer and to just get used to. I would have got used to the smells.
Do you want to tell us any more about your VOC allergies?
Yeah, so I'm really sensitive to VOCs, like formaldehyde, which is used in all regular building. And so I was having trouble living in regular houses because I was getting so sensitive. So building this house was really important to me getting better, and I've just made huge health gains since moving into this house a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So I write a blog about building specifically tiny houses that are chemical-free, VOC-free, but most of the materials apply to regular houses. Like you could use Roxol in a regular house. And so hopefully that's a good resource for people with chemical sensitivities, or if you just want to not breathe in formaldehyde. So in my blog I go more into, like, I have a post on insulation where I go through all the non-toxic options. I have a post about silicones where I sniff tested all the ones that are supposed to be, the greenest. And so I have a lot of information like that, like on every aspect of the house. There's just more details.
Well, thanks a lot for showing us your tiny house.
Thanks so much for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want to see some of our previous videos, click on the preview tiles. And subscribe if you want to follow our progress. You can also visit our website here.